lost my son. And I finally was able to get enough strength to go into the hospital to do a grief counseling appointment. And I would have thought, a year and a half out, like I shouldn't, why do I still have like a very high level of anxiety? Why do I still have, all of these things that I'm experiencing? But she said, when you experience severe trauma, you get stuck in this state of fight or flight. And it's, in the back of your brain. And she said it can take 2 years at least for it to unravel. And for her to put words on what I was experiencing, it just was helpful for me because it made me realize maybe this is why so many people are so reactive right now. We have all been through, in my opinion, severe trauma with the pandemic that we've experienced. And so, like you're saying, how do we, calm the emotional charge that's a natural reaction of a traumatic experience? And you might have some really good advice, Chris, because of your training and your background.
Honestly, the first step of it for me and for what I've seen is being aware that you don't want to feel that way. When you recognize you're in fight or flight for anything, any kind of trauma, any type of grief, you have to ask yourself, do I want to feel this way? And if the answer is honestly no, that's the first step towards letting it go. If it's not honestly no, then it could take more time to get to the point where you're willing to let it go. I mean, if we hold on to fight or flight in some cases like it's a safety blanket. And that's really what the news and social media and all those things have become for us. They're weirdly safety blankets, but they're safety blankets of this weird toxic fear.
Yeah.
We're so scared. Let me turn on the TV.
Right. I gotta stay up,
Right.
to the minute what's
Gotta
happening
understand.
right now, even if it's happening, on the other side of the planet. Like I hear you.
So it's like holding on to fear and scared, like sadness with both hands, and you're just tucking it in. And you can do that. You can hold on to it as long as you want. And when you do this, you can see even now it makes your muscles shake.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it's not meant, we are not meant to hold on to those things for long periods of time. Fight or flight is meant to be a momentary thing to get you off of a dangerous situation, out of a dangerous situation, so you can run away, so that you can figure out a problem solving situation in the moment instantaneously. After that, you need to let it go. We don't let it go anymore.
Yeah.
And that's part, it's instead we add all these layers onto it and we've become comfortable with it. We become comfortable with that feeling of being stressed. And I would dare say that that is even something that we teach our children to aim for. You want to be a boss. You want to be the top of your field. Well, you're going to have to work your butt off. You're going to have to be stressed all the time. You can't get sleep because you're going to be constantly thinking about work. That's how you know you made it.
Yeah, exactly. That's when you're happy.
That's when you get there. When you're not sleeping, you don't have time to eat, and you forget all about the great things in life. Because all you're doing is aiming for some point in the future that you could never reach. That's really sad. So it really is. We've built all these layers of false comfort on top of ourselves. And because these layers are getting so thick now, because the issues are continuous, I mean, 2 years of any trauma is severe. Continuous trauma for 2 years. You look at the deployments the military folks go through, 4 months to a year and a half to 2 years of every single day worrying about your life. Think about what that would be like for 4 months, then 6 months. 2 years of constantly fearing for your safety, knowing your family's at home. They do not know what you're going through. They can't possibly understand it. Think of how that turmoil exponentially adds over time. That's kind of what's going on with COVID. People who probably were doing really well at the beginning are dragging now. They're faltering. They're letting that fear seep into their thoughts, into their feelings, regardless of how strongly they try to put that space in between. And it makes us just look for solutions, whether we think they're logical solutions or not, because we just want it to end. But instead of saying the only way to stop the fear is to ask yourself, is this how I want to feel? And if the answer is no, then let it go. Have faith that this is happening for whatever reason it's supposed to happen. And consciously say, I don't want to feel this way anymore.
And it reminds me of something a good friend told me this week. In each moment, when you feel that anxiety or whatever the feeling is for you, start to rise, I mean, really just immediately ask yourself, am I safe in this moment? We're not
Yeah.
talking about 2 minutes from now. We're not talking about tomorrow. Am I safe in this moment? Most 99% of the time, the answer is yes. And you might have to do that because after she told me that, I found myself doing that like literally like 5 times a day.
Yeah.
And it's okay because my answer each time was, yeah, okay, yeah, I guess I'm safe in this moment. Well, okay, then, like that's all you can do. And if you're taking your own precautions, and you are leaning in to feeling safe and to trusting that the universe always has your back, even if sometimes it doesn't seem like it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that is happening is divinely guided, planned, and for your journey. And if you can get into that space, then you can start to relax a little bit of that central nervous system, fried feeling. And you realize after you do that for a couple days, it's like, okay, I am safe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There are things that I can do, besides watching other people tell me what to do or what to think. There are things that I can do to like start to relax those boundaries.
Mm-hmm. And that's a great point. So we feel our stress in different parts of our body. That feeling of fight or flight, people feel it in different places. For me, it's like a clenching of the traps. I feel it like my shoulders start to raise up. And yeah, so even like that
Yeah, I
movement
know. I'm
there,
like, I do the same thing. I'm like,
you
oh,
can feel it. So when you start to feel that, wherever it is in your body that you feel that stress, ask yourself, am I in danger right now? What am I afraid of? Is there anything to be afraid of right now? I mean, anybody watching this, beginning, future, 20 years from now, watching this replay, are you in danger right now? What do you have to be afraid of right now? If the answer is nothing, it sends like this cool endorphin through your body. Your body's like, oh, damn, we aren't in danger. Let me relax for a second. And eventually that becomes habit. It's like the first step of alchemy is observation of the ego. So knowing when what you're thinking and feeling is not actually what you're thinking and feeling, it's some kind of behavioral pattern that you've developed that is no longer good for you. Listening to that little voice that says, I'm supposed to be miserable. I'm supposed to be afraid. Anybody who's not afraid is foolish and they have to have my opinion. And I can't even imagine why. We think other people have to have our same opinions. So once you recognize that you're doing that and you tell yourself, I don't want to feel that fear anymore, ask yourself, am I in danger? What is it that I'm afraid will happen to me right now? Wow, what's the answer? If you can't come up with one, that's a pretty good answer.
yeah, it was eye-opening for me. I kind of rolled my eyes when she first told me, but then when I started practicing it, it was very eye-opening for me because your mind immediately goes into, well, there's this, and this, but then I'd be like, but is that happening right here in
Mm-hmm.
my living room where I'm sitting on the couch? You know what I mean? And I'm like, no, it is. It's very eye-opening. I
There's
have
a
to share because I mean, this is a bad, probably not the best example, but just when you're communicating and when we're approaching things from this like really heightened state of our central nervous systems really being maxed out. I was telling somebody this last week or whatever that I had learned, somebody had showed me this technique to how to engage your, I guess it's your sympathetic, parasympathetic. Is parasympathetic rest and digest? Or
I bet
sympathy?
Steph would know that.
Yeah. Anyways, the one that chills you out and calms you down, right? And gets you, out of your head and your stomach and all the anxiety. But it's just so simple. It's just, you breathe into the count of 4 through your nose, you hold for the count of 4, breathe out for the count of 4, you pause for the count of 4. And you do that. You probably have to do that for like a minute or 2 minutes, but that will actually trigger that rest and digest, the opposite of the fight or flight nervous system response. And people recommend to do it like before you go to bed, to kind of quiet your crazy mind. And so I was telling somebody about that this last week. And they said, oh, you know what? They use that in military training with a lot of the special forces. And I said, oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
And they said, yeah, like, snipers and people that have like very, tremendously stressful jobs, what they'll do is they will do that. They'll do like a count of 4, and then they'll do like a count of 6. And by the time they get to a count of 8, it's engaged, it's completely switched them into that state where they can focus, they can concentrate, they can, really, the emotional charge is taken out of it. And I feel like when we're talking about communication, I think we're so maxed out with our central nervous system. And so our emotions are just so involved in our communication. And whether that's fear or anger or, it seems like these days there's probably more negative emotions involved with communication than all are positive. And it's not even anybody's fault. My theory is ever since, the nurse mentioned that about the central nervous system and the trauma is I'm like, I think we're all just in a state of severe trauma. And it's a subconscious response that we aren't even aware of, because like I had gone to the massage therapist a couple times when I was in these states of like really major crisis. And they were like, oh my God, your shoulders are like this. And I'm like, they are? And then by the time they get them back down, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know that's how they're supposed to feel. And they said, yeah, because it's such a slow day over day over day thing. And all of a sudden it becomes your new normal. And it's just heartbreaking. I can't tell you how many friendships, marriages, families I have heard that are being utterly broken up and divided over, in my
everything,
opinion,
every
fear-based.
issue.
Yeah.
It's shocking. Even my father and his brother didn't agree on politics, so that has severely hurt their relationship. You see that in the neighborhoods all the time. People have signs against their neighbors on political issues, which is just so bizarre to me. The issue about the Black Lives Matter versus people who are pro-police, quite frankly, 2 totally different conversations when you just kind of dissect them. But that has completely divided people. That's divided race in a weird way. It's 1,000 different issues, the vaccine versus the unvaccinated. It's a personal choice on a level that most people would argue is normal. The excuse me, the like abortion versus pro-life. Ironically, nobody's really talking about that right now. But I would argue more people would say it's a woman's choice to choose that than a person's choice to choose whether to get vaccinated or not. It's become non-negotiable. That whole my way or the highway. And I agree. I think it's stacked up over time. So we're just adding layers and layers and layers of fear, which becomes intolerance, which becomes more fear, and that sense of fight or flight. Now we're trying to defend our opinion as if it will somehow save us.
Yes. Yes. Very well said.
That's such a strange realization.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that box breathing, I am a huge fan of that. And I open most of my meditations with the 4 in, hold, 4 out. And they say Buddhists would get to the point where they were up to like 24 count, 24
Wow.
in, hold. And that was the whole point, was to elongate the breath, because you're pulling the breath all the way down into your belly, into that dantian. When you take just normal breaths, a lot of people, you'll see their chest will raise. And you know this from Qigong, it's supposed to be the stomach that raises. So when you count the breath in for such a long period of time, the belly expands. So you're actually replacing all of the oxygen in your body within a minute, which is giving you a whole new set of tingly cells,
Mm,
brand new energy flow. Blood is moving better, moving faster, because it's not that shallow breathing.
yes.
Oh, we got Steph.
Come on in. Good to see you.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi.
love. You look beautiful.
Oh, thank you. How are you ladies?
Good.
We're doing good. We're having a great chat on just, the level of fear and anxiety, and just, our central nervous systems just being absolutely maxed out, and how that affects our bodies, how that affects the way that we perceive things and our responses, and, what we
Love
can
it.
do to get out of that emotional reactive response. And so we were just talking about it's apparently it's called box breathing. And like somebody had told me to get, like, if you want to get into this, is a good question for Stephanie. Is it the parasympathetic nervous system that is the rest and digest?
Yes.
Or is that the fight and flight?
Yes.
Okay. So to get,
Parasympathetic
Knew
is
she would
rest
know.
and digest.
yeah, you came on at the perfect time.
Yeah, it's like you're talking and I've got all these words firing off, like the vagus nerve
Oh,
and
yeah.
the limbic system versus the prefrontal cortex, and how to like disengage when you are feeling that rush of emotion. And like, I don't know if you talked about like conflict resolution yet?
No,
That's what immediately hit me. Yeah.
please.
Yeah. The handy little trick. It's been really, really big in my awareness lately with clients that I've been working with, and even just what I'm seeing collectively. This like hyper engagement emotionally,
Yes.
right? Like,
Yes.
like, whereas people maybe would be comfortable or had a history of being comfortable in situations where emotions were heightened and they felt they could really navigate that. Now it's like times 10, right? So everything feels charged. Like relationships sometimes feel charged, depending on how the person you're interacting with has engaged in that fear narrative, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or depending on just what is going on in their life. So easy ways to bring yourself back to center when you're in the moment, because that's the question that I continue to get is, what about in the moment? Like in the moment, right, you're having these, whether it be friction or, argument or just confrontation, whatever it is, and you start to feel that emotion, like emotionally charged, and choose not to engage through that filter, instead staying in that observer mode and leading from the heart. It's easy to just flip that processing system back on, which is really what we want to do. We want to get back into the prefrontal cortex and not the limbic system, where everything is really, really emotional. And so by acknowledging and just giving a name to what you're feeling, even just in your own mind in that moment, you flip back on that system. That it's like the fear versus love, and how you can't really do both at the same time. The prefrontal cortex and the limbic system are the same. They're like that they're like on a teeter-totter, if you think of it that way. And so when you re-engage the prefrontal cortex by categorizing or labeling or putting something in a category or just naming it. You're turning that processor back on and stepping back out of that heightened emotional state to a place where you can observe what's happening and what's happening in your own body and why. And don't get caught down that slippery slope of all of the why and back into the heightened emotional state and flipping the cycle back on.
Right. It's acknowledging that it's happening.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just curious because things we were talking about earlier, like how convoluted things have become. And now you have such emotional charged conversations around logical, structured things that are happening. So it almost seems like, and maybe that again is because our central nervous systems are just in this state of wah, that is it possible to have both of those firing at the same time?
They can be it's like that teeter totter, right? So firing at the same time, technically, I guess, yeah. Like imagine you're finding that flow of both without going really, really like over processing, getting out here into the future and what's going to happen and all of the steps and what it's going to look like. And now you're going like this because you're going to go back and forth. You're going to re-engage that emotional cycle if that's your aptitude and end up back and forth. So it's such a dance of consciousness.
I think that's
right?
what happened. Because even Chris with her military background was saying 2 years of intense trauma is a very long time.
Oh yeah.
And I think that because we've had to do that, go back and forth, like day after day, we're stuck in that kind of, like you just said, that pattern.
So there's a really cool exercise that I learned to observe the ego that I actually think would work pretty well in this situation. You go into a meditative state and you pull up a time where your ego is really talking to you and you put a face to it, a description to it, a name to it. Mine was like a little puppy and it's sitting there. It's like, hey, Chris, pay attention. Chris. No, Chris, really. So when I saw this little jumpy puppy, I was able to say, okay, I will pay attention to you. I just need you to be calm right now. I promise I haven't forgotten you. If you do the same to fear and love, you put physical descriptions to both, whatever that looks like to you, even names. So when you start to feel your shoulders getting tense, you have that character that you recognize. You say, hey, we have nothing to fear right now. And you bring that love to the forefront, like calling forward your love with a physical description that you have identified that fits you. We could do that in a meditation if you want to try it.
Yeah.
You want to try it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to see if it'll work?
Yeah.
I think it'll work. And we could start with the box breathing if you guys want to give that a try.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I was just drawing, I felt pulled to draw a card. So actually, you know what? Just because of the card that came up and it jumped out of the deck, I think this would actually be good to talk about before we go into this meditation, because interestingly enough, sacred geometry. So I want you to just really hone in and focus on this image for a minute, but it's all about the state of transition. And I just read this week in something I was looking into in my human design that it was the energy of being in the midpoint between struggle and liberation. And I just thought instantly it just hit me. And I'm like, I feel like that's what we're in right now. And it's just this passing in time, this shifting of modern living and all of that. And it's just, when you put it in that perspective, you're safe in this moment. You're safe in this moment. And Chris, just to read what's on the card before we start the box breathing, the frequency of transition supports our deep understanding of the ever-changing nature of existence in our lives so that we can learn to let go, surrender to the process, and allow transition to occur with ease and grace. And let me tell you from personal experience, that doesn't always look like what you think it's supposed to look like. But what it is letting go of the resistance to it, whatever is happening. And I think this meditation is going to be so perfect and so beautiful. So I can't wait.
Yeah, there's a couple things on that card that really stand out. One, that DNA strand, the half of the DNA strand, and you talk about the above and the below, so the connection above and below, with the heart being the center connection, the anchor to the above and below energy, which is very much what that spiral looks like. And transitioning from fear to love is exactly what we're talking about. You're able to identify your fear, you identify it for what it is, and transition gracefully to a place of love, because you don't want to live in fear. You've made that decision. I love it. It's a beautiful card. And of course, Saint Germain, purple, always my jam.
Transformation.
Yeah.
That's what we need right now. And that's what we are bringing today. So yeah, let's do this. This is perfect.
You guys ready to try it? All right. So close your eyes and get comfortable in the chair or lay down wherever you're sitting. We're going to start just taking a deep breath in through the nose and let it out with a sigh. Just letting the shoulders and the arms relax. Let them hang heavy. And with the next in-breath, we're going to do the 4 counts in, hold for 4, release for 4, and then hold for 4. And I'll count it out. So you breathe in, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4, and release, 2, 3, 4, hold. And breathe in, hold, and release. Hold. Breathe in, hold, and breathe out. Hold. One more time. Hold. Release. And hold. Allow your breath to go back to normal. Breathing in deeply all the way into your belly. Releasing the muscles of the abdomen. Blowing it up like a balloon in your stomach. And when you release all the way from the base. Feel the breath going up out of the lungs and out through the nose. Continue to breathe in. Feel as your breath passes over your heart space, cleansing the area, moving any stagnant energy that has been stuck inside your body. And with the exhale, releasing that tension. Breathe in. Feeling your heart open, becoming more clear and vibrant. Feel that beautiful emerald green energy coming in like a shot into the heart. Coming in through both the front and the back. Lines of energy that meet and cross over. Clearing out this heart space as we begin for transformation. Take your focus from your breath to that heart space. Visualize this space growing and expanding, the energy exiting the body, expanding more and more until you're practically sitting in a bubble of this heart energy. In this space of love, you know that you are safe, you know that you are protected, you know that you are connected to both the above and the below. Feel as that green energy penetrates every inch of your energy, of the skin, of the joints and the muscles of the body. Feel as this green energy is doing a scan through your body, looking for points of pain, of stress, looking for the areas that you hold all of your tension. And when you come across one of these areas, just focus your attention in, allowing that green energy to grow brighter and brighter, pointed in on that spot of tension, witnessing as it dissolves into the green energy, releasing, and sighs as it let go, filtering out. In this space of love, I want you to bring into mind a time in the recent memory where you felt fear, where you felt true sadness. Bring to mind that memory, knowing that you are still safe. Replay it. Remember what it felt like in that time. Witness where in your body you feel this fear. Where do you feel the sadness? Allow this fear to take on its own personality. Witness as it separates from your body, standing next to you in this bubble of love, and takes on a form that you recognize. That fear and pain, remember to breathe in deeply, allowing this fear and pain to solidify, witnessing as it takes on whatever form. Turn to that being and ask it for its name. This is the name that you will identify with this feeling of fear and sadness. This being has a divine purpose in your life. It is not evil. It is not there to hurt you or punish you. It is a part of your human experience. So witness this being. Offer it gratitude for being there. And ask it what it requires in order to let go. We want to detach this fear from this moment, from this memory. Ask this being how to release this energy from your body, from your heart, from this place of love and safety. And with the next exhale, call this being by its name And in the deepest gratitude, ask it to release. Feel as this being releases its hold from your body, from your heart, from the memory that you brought up in order to see and create in a relationship with this being. This separate entity that is there to protect you, to guide you. Know that you can always ask this being to release its hold when you feel that fear, when you observe from a place of love that that fear is no longer needed. Offer it deep gratitude and ask it to release. Return your focus to that green bubble of love. Feel as that being, that fear essence, fades away, absorbing into this green energy, becoming one with that love. And focusing back into the heart space. Breathing in deeply to release any last lingering feels, any feeling of fear or stress that remains. We ask now for that feeling of unconditional love to solidify, to form inside this bubble of love, to give us a being, someone we can identify with and call on in times of fear. When we ask love to come forward, to walk beside us, to cover us in its blanket of safety, to communicate with us, for us. Witness as love solidifies into a form that means so much to you. Feel your heart open as this being begins to solidify, reminding you of every feeling and moment of love that you've experienced in this life. Feel that deep, deep gratitude as this being stands beside you now. Feel where that love radiates in your body. Observe how it feels to stand beside this being of pure, unconditional love. Now turn to this being and ask it for its name or essence. This essence is what you will use to call forward this being in times of fear or sadness, times of doubt. This unconventional, unconditional love will be there for you in all moments, in all times, with nothing more than a thought. These two parts of you, the fear and the love, are both there to protect you and to guide you. They are partners in this experience. Call on your partners to support you, to help you release grief and pain, to help you embrace love, to speak, to act, to be love. With the deepest gratitude, thank this being for solidifying, for creating a relationship Thank them for your knowledge that they will be there at all times. And know that you can call on them whenever you doubt, whenever you feel old tension coming forward. And to prove this, bring back into your mind that moment of pain, that moment of fear, that moment when you felt alone. Allow that memory to replay in your mind. Feel as it moves back into your body, solidifying in your shoulders, in your neck. And at this point, ask yourself, do I want to feel this fear? If the answer is no, call forward that being of love, that part of you that is unconditional love solidified. Call forth this being in gratitude and watch as it covers this memory, this event, in green, radiant light. Witness the pinks of hue, covering every aspect of this memory in a tinted green and pink light, removing the feeling from your neck, from your shoulders. Standing beside you as you witness this memory as a movie, as something that has happened but no longer brings up those feelings of fear and sadness. This being of love removes the emotional charge from anything that you need. Witness this memory in a totally different way, standing beside this being of love. You have removed the emotional connection, and this moment in time will never hurt you again. From now until forever, when you remember this memory, it will be with the tinted green and pink hues covering every being, every piece of furniture, every particle of air. Thank this being again for its ultimate power of love, for coming forward when we needed it the most. Thank them by acknowledging their name or their essence. You can ask this being to stay beside you through the rest of the day, through the rest of the week, merging with your cells, becoming one with your body. Return your focus to your heart space. Feel the difference, the lightness of your heart. Scan that body with the green energy to see if any of that stress and tension that you are holding has disappeared, has released. Still sitting in this beautiful cocoon of love. Bring that focus down, back into the skin, back into the joints and the muscles. Feeling the blood flowing through the body. Feeling the release of tension, the heaviness of the muscles. Feel the chair underneath your body. The back of the chair against your skin. The clothing as it hangs on your shoulders. With a deep breath, wiggle your fingers. Rotate your wrists. Wiggle your toes. And with a final deep breath, open your eyes.
Wow.
Did you see anything? I can't see
I
now.
heard, I had tones, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm listening to too much of my biofeedback because it was weird. It was like you said very specific words, and I heard these two types of tones on the left side. And then later on in the meditation, you said another two words, and then I heard like higher octaves of those same tones kind of on my right side. And I was like, whoa. So I'm sure that was some kind of, I don't know, frequency shift for me, or I don't know if you guys felt something.
I think that's the same. It's the same principle. Instead of seeing something physical, a tone is the same principle. You feel that tone. That tone comes to mind when you're feeling fear. The reverse tone
Yeah.
comes to mind when you want love to come forward. So that would be a really powerful way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Cause yeah, that's all you need to hear. And then your whole mind shifts, probably like Steph, what you were saying, it maybe shifted areas of my brain or something. How did you feel, Steph?
That was
You're
amazing.
still coming
Thank you,
back.
Chris. Thank you. Yeah, no, that was beautiful. I had a lot of abstract visuals that all mean something to me. Again, it's like energy, frequency, and vibration. It's all up in there. That was beautiful. Very healing. And I could feel the heart center just completely lighting up. I love heart center work. Anyway,
Me too.
That's the Mary Magdalene.
It always seems like the place to start.
Yeah.
Every journey starts in the heart.
Yeah, that was really activating and aligning. It was nice.
For me, like when we were working with the heart, I'm so tuned into Kuan Yin, I swear, with the whole empathy and compassion. But I heard rise above the suffering, because we're so in the suffering right now. And if you're not suffering, like we all know so many people that are, and you can't help but feel, even if you weren't empathic before this pandemic, whatever, all these things are making us way more empathic. And so, if you can rise above the suffering, that's where you can stay in that higher vibrational state. And you're not saying that there is no suffering. I'm just going to hang out in my little spiritual woo woo, yeah, that ain't happening anymore. You're going to get yanked down. But I hope that makes sense, because for me, it really resonated.
Yeah. It transitioned there in the middle, at least from what my intention was. And it's such an important part right now is to detach emotion from a memory. Detaching emotion from what you're experiencing in a present point, I think is actually probably easier than detaching it from a really charged memory, something traumatic that has happened. But the technique is still the same. You bring forth the memory as if it's happening now, feeling it again, and then pulling forth that essence of love and allowing it to change the scope of the memory. Still happened, but now you're observing it versus feeling it again. It's like Katie was saying at the beginning, is this hurting me right now? Am I in danger right now remembering this? I mean, that can be done for every single bit of trauma. It takes time, it takes practice, but eventually it becomes more normal. Like having a conversation with angels, calling in help, calling in loved ones. Why not call in your own power of love and asking your fear, thank you for being there for me. I got this. I don't need you on this one. I'm going to need you to just shh, gentle, gentle. Mine are always animal related. They're always like little critters.
Little critters.
I think it because I like to pet things. Like good fear. I got you.
I love it. I think that is a great, like simple analogy that any of us can do. And let's just plant that seed, set that intention right now that, if you do that one thing to set that intention, I guarantee you will have at least one experience this week where you notice that arise and you know what I mean? And you can work with it. And we need every tool in our toolkit right now. So thank you. Thank you. That is a beautiful one to add. I can't wait to try it.
So 2 things. One, I want you to pull another card. But 2, this goes with communication. And I want to loop it back to the original topic. When you're having a conversation with somebody, anybody this week, especially somebody that you have an emotional connection with already, pull that being of love forward before, during, or after the conversation and see if that changes the way you communicate. It might not change the way the other person communicates, but that's not the point. See what it does to you. And I really want to hear how that works for everybody. I am most assuredly going to try this. I got to call somebody I have issues with and see how it works.
Woo! I know nobody said it was easy, right? Nobody said it was easy.
Let's bring on the hard conversations.
Well, and it was
Yes.
like I literally drew this card right about the same time you said change, and the way you communicate. So I know that was no accident.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah. So just look at that for a little bit. And then it's interesting. The frequency of change supports our ability to gracefully dance with the forever changing nature of reality. And that's all we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to get emotionally stuck in, these intense like details of the moments, because those moments are going to be past us in 10 years, like the blink of an eye, both inward and outward. So we can appreciate the sweet release of the old and the birth of the new. And if we can try to take that approach when we are communicating, I think it will shift everything.
Yeah, I say what Nancy said, 100% with family right now. I'm having serious issues communicating with my family as well. It feels like regression a lot of times. There's so much fear and there's so much pain going on right now that it's like communicating as a 15-year-old girl versus the adults that we've all become. And I think that's a big part of that's the result of all this fear and this trauma. We're not, because we can't hear each other through our own haze. But if you bring that being forward and make that like a third party in the conversation, or that tone forward, you can even play that tone if you figure out which tone it is. Like
I know,
background of your communications.
I've never.
No, don't worry about that. This is
that's good homework. I was thinking, I didn't. Thank you. That's great homework. And I just want to say really quick, Nancy, I feel you, and so feel free to reach out to me directly, and we can talk about the emotional recall.
It's a tough time for everybody. We have to be gracious with each other, certainly with ourselves. But there are techniques like this and groups like this.
What did that take? 10 minutes?
Yeah.
And it shifted everything.
Well, ladies, I think we're a little over time. Anything going on this week that you want to share with the world?
I guess something.
All right, Katie, what you got?
I actually this week just launched my Patreon page. And so I don't know if you guys have heard of Patreon, but it's a super cool website where you can put creative content out and people can pledge to participate in that content. And so I made my pledge to try to get 100 patrons so that I could develop more programs and scholarships for people that have lost loved ones to know that that connection continues, and just to build more interest in support in that area. So check me out. It's just if you go to patreon.com, you can either probably look me up, Katie Steinley, or Discover Your Design.
Fantastic. Steph?
Awesome. Yeah, I get out of Facebook jail this week. Yeah, baby. I'll be back live.
Freaking
So,
Facebook jail.
yeah, everybody can catch me in the Akashic Kitchen. I get out of Facebook jail on the 9th. So I'll be back live in the group. We've got lots of gatherings and retreats coming up in October and November that there's still room for. We've got all kinds of stuff going on. There will be a next run of Cell to Soul, so be awaiting the announcement of that date set so you can mark your calendar. Everybody can hop over there if they want to check out what's going on.
Fantastic.
Anything, Chris?
I launched my pilot program. We are about 3 weeks in, and it's going really, really well. I'm very excited. I've got about 10 different scholarship applications for the Ascended Warrior stuff, which is amazing.
Wow.
And I'm starting to get donations. So thank everybody who has donated to the ascended-warrior.com for veterans and first responders. And also it's important to note anybody who's interested in taking these programs is welcome to join. It's not just for veterans and first responders. It is for anybody who identifies with the material. And if it does, you will be in the right place. I promise you.
Tell us again who that is, because I've heard you talk about PTSD and so many different things. I feel like that probably speaks to a lot of people.
Yeah. So the program is to figure out who you are underneath society, underneath culture, underneath every false claim that you've put on yourself, so that you can start to build and release all trauma, traumatic stress for sure, that just behavioral patterns that we've had, drug and alcohol abuse that we've had, anything that we've done to kind of cover the fact that we're suffering. Go to the root of it, go to the memory, detach the emotion, recognize where it is that you hold that in your body and release it forever. And then start to build the life that you want, the spiritual practice that you want, the career that you want. It's every layer of it from the DNA up. So I'm very excited about it. And everybody is welcome. The scholarships are for veterans and first responders. However, that's just the first line of it.
Yeah.
If this is something that interests you and you want to teach your own communities and raise scholarships for your own communities, Train the Trainer is something I'd like to get into as well, so that every community has their advocate.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, I mean, the timing of what you're offering is just so spot on. Because we need to come back together as communities and support one another and get through this together, and just know, instead of mental health always being like this taboo topic, like we all know everybody out there is going through something right now. So it's like, you're not alone anymore. It's okay, to step up and let people know, like, you need support, you need help. That's what we're here for. That's what this show's about.
Absolutely. And I believe we're talking about doing maybe once a month shows now, because everybody is freaking sprinting, which is a good thing. So I think Muses might go to once a month, the first week of every month. But we've all got tons of live content on the different groups that we share here in the Muses group. So please share and invite other people to join this community. They're welcome to share their work here as well. This is a place of safety and love. So if you are working towards that, you're in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
So until the next time, beautiful Muses family, from Steph, Katie, and myself, and Kat, who wasn't able to join us today, thank you so much. Have a blessed week. Stay strong. And on 9/11, please connect your hearts, bless the waters. We need to shift the energy of this day and of this time. So I will definitely put a call out on that. So be paying attention. Until next time.
Bye.